In this module, we are going to do a flower crown. It's probably not something that you're going to use in your everyday life, but personally, I find being able to make a flower crown just lifts my spirits and makes me really happy. When we were in lockdown, I remember feeling quite down one day, and I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to go into my garden, I'm going to pick some flowers and I'm going to make a flower crown. And it had an instant mood lifting quality. So I thought it would be a good one to share with you today. You can get your friends around, get your girlfriends around, get some flowers and just make some flower crowns and have some fun. Just laugh, and if you've got kids, they love flower crowns. And if you go to festivals, perfect. So we're going to start with the wire that I told you about in your toolkit. So this is a really great wire. It comes in a multitude of colors, and it's really flexible, but it's really light, so you don't feel it so much, but it's quite strong, it's quite thick, so it gives you a very good base to put your flowers on. So there's going to be a lot of wiring techniques in here, and I'm going to show you how to wire individual flowers and how to compile them. So first of all, what I'd need you to do is to make an end like that on both sides. This will give you the opportunity when we finish at the end to put some ribbon in, and it makes it able to fit many sizes. So when you go around your head like that, it may touch, it may not, depending on the size of your head. So that's your first point. Then you're going to decide what kind of flowers and foliage you want. And the idea is to make it as full and as colourful or as fun as you want. You can make it thin if you need it to be thin, but I tend to love them to just be full, big flower thing that sits on your head. And so we want to get a variety of foliages. So we've got some of the pistache that we had earlier. We've got this gorgeous berried eucalyptus. Now you can use that as a whole piece, but you might find it's flapping in your face. You might not worry about that. It's just about what you want to have on your flower crown. And you need to just make sure you've got plenty of little bits to use. This is from the olive bush in my garden. It's just lovely, and it gives you another contrast. So in there you've got sage green, and then you've got the olive green, which is two-tone, and then you've got the pistache, which is a much greener. So when you start to layer them up, it just builds up a really lovely texture. Oh, this is also another one. It's Pittosporum, and it's variegated, and it gives you another sort of bulk to your flower crown. And I'm going to use some of these little Alstroemeria because I think they're just a beautiful colour, and there's lots on one stem. So even if you only had the money to buy one stem of these, you just get lots of little heads on there. And I'm also going to use a hydrangea because each one of these can be used to add around the flower crown like that. So that's literally only using one tiny piece, and you've got 3 lovely pieces to use. I think that will probably be enough for now. So what we need to do is we need to make sure, the long way of doing this is to make sure that each of these ends is sealed and has a flexible part to it. So we want to thread one of these thin wires around a loop there, and then we're going to cut it slightly shorter, and then take one leg of that wire and wind it around the stem. So you've got something like that. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, those 2 legs standing there. And then we're going to take some of the gutter tape that we talked about earlier in your toolkit. Now this is great if you've got warm hands, because what you need to try and do is just warm the tape up a little bit. So when you're manipulating it through your fingers, it'll kind of warm it up. And you wrap it around the stem and then you just twist it, and you twist it, and you twist around the stem, and then you keep twisting. It gets quite delicate, so it does break off, and just start retwisting again. And then you take that, twist it. You're kind of rolling the wire in between your thumb and your forefinger, and then you break it off. So when you're finished, you're left with a flower that's on a stem like that. So when we go to add it, it can bend whichever way you want it to bend. And then this is where the kind of therapy of making a flower crown comes in. Each of these flowers needs to be individually wired. And sometimes just sitting at your table and wiring flowers. While you do this, you can watch telly, you can chat with your friends, you can have a drink. It's just a lovely way to concentrate your thoughts onto doing something really intricate. So the idea is that I'm just going to keep wiring everything I've got here. And I would say that you can either bunch these up together when you've finished with them, or you can wire them on individually and just layer on top and on top and on top, and I'll show you how to add those to your main headdress wire as we go along. So the smaller the flowers you use, the more you're going to need. So that's why I've also got some of these gorgeous carnations. I think they're called Moon Tea, and they're just so vibrant. They're like a neon purple. And with the carnations, you can actually push the thin wire through that fleshy bit at the top and out the other side, and bring the two legs together and wind one leg around the other until you get to the end. And then again, just need a little bit of this stem tape. And the main reason that we're using the stem tape is because we want to try and lock the moisture into the flower. So the flower's already had a drink, so this area is full of water, and that's keeping it alive, and it's going to be out of water for quite some time. And so we just want to try and seal the edges of that so the water doesn't evaporate out of there. It still continues to allow the flower to drink. It's just buying time basically for the flowers. So what you need to do is we need to get the wire to fit around the inside of the flower, and then you wind that around there, and so you've left with a stem at the end of the stem. If you've got really cold hands, you might want to just play around with this a little bit to make it a little bit more tacky, because the warmer it gets, the better it sticks to itself. And as you go round and sort of gently squeeze, it sticks to the last bit. And you slightly stretch with one hand as you spin with the other hand, and then pull off the last bit. Doesn't matter, just as long as you've got something to wire around the leg. And then this little bit of olive branch, just to give you an idea. Hold the wire like that, pull the stems together, and then take one stem and wind it round the other stem. So you're left with a leg like that, and that's kind of firmly attached. And then again, we do the stem tape. So winding it round, give it a squeeze so it sticks to the underside. With your right hand, if you're right-handed, you can pull the tape, and with your left hand, just twist. So you're sort of pulling and twisting, and then you just pull it off the end, and then you're left with that. I think this takes a little bit of practice, and you won't get it straight away, but keep going, because it's a really nice technique, and it's also a good way. This is the technique we use to make buttonholes and corsages for weddings and things like that. So if ever you go to a friend's wedding and you want to make your own corsage, because these days not everybody has corsages for everybody at the wedding because it's quite costly, you can go along with your own corsage knowing that you've made it yourself. And this is also a perfect technique for making a corsage for a prom. With handling flowers like this, it's about finding that little balance between holding just tight enough and not too tight. And with these as well, you can pop them in the fridge overnight and they'll be just as fresh the next morning. When you're thinking about what flowers to use, there is a part of me that would tend to go for the more robust flowers, like the carnation. They last for ages. Like the chrysanths, they're great at being long lasting, and they're the sort of spray chrysanths. They're little buttons, and they tend to last quite a long time. Roses, little spray roses are quite good at lasting. Alstroemeria are not bad actually at lasting. They look really delicate, but they're quite strong. And foliage, lots of foliage. It makes it fuller. It makes it a bit more robust. There's so many different ways of making flowers work for you. And as you keep playing with flowers and using them, you'll get to know all of the different ways in which flowers react to different treatment. I used to test it a lot in the flower shop. So if someone wanted a specific flower, I would leave the flower out with absolutely nothing overnight. Then I'd leave another one in the fridge with nothing overnight. And then I'd wire one like this and leave it out on the shelf, and wire one and leave it in the fridge. And then the next day, I'd come in and I see which one had lasted the best. And then that would be the technique that I would use, and that would be the flower that I would use. So even as a florist, everything is trial and error. It's about finding what works best. And at different times of the year as well, things work differently. So in the winter, flowers last a lot longer because it's so cold. But in the house, if you've got your heating on, then you might find that they don't last quite as long. I think it's tropical flowers like orchids and proteas and things don't mind having a little bit of heat. But definitely most of the flowers that are grown in England don't really like being in hot conditions. So we're getting there. We're getting quite a bit of foliage. So I think we might need a couple more pieces of that, couple more pieces of that. And it's quite hard to do with flowers that have got hollow stems, which I think daffodils do have hollow stems. So I think you might find that when you're trying to put the gutter tape on, it's just a little bit harder to get used to because the squeezing squeezes the actual stem. Okay, I think we may have enough to work with. So if you've got your little individual piles, and then you're going to start to add them to your wire. So I'm going to start at one end, and the idea is that we just want to slightly cover that. So wherever it ends, it means that it's got something going on there. So we hold the wire in one hand and we lay the foliage or the stem on the other. And this is where the very thin reel wire comes in handy. So you keep it all on the wire, keep it on the reel, and then you bring the wire in between your thumb. Sometimes it helps if you just bring that out. And then you want to go round and round and round. So you just attached that to the wire. And then we're going to add on top of that another piece of foliage. And then we're going to go round and round and round and round. So that's attached. And then I might go with a bit of a flower. So then you're placing the flower on top of the wire again, and you're just going round and round and round until you feel that that's on quite securely. And then we're going to go for a different bit of foliage. Place that there, and then you're going to go round and round and round until you feel that's secure. I'm going to put another bit of foliage. So all you want to do is you're trying not to cover up the wire underneath, because that's really not necessary. You're just trying to not have too many gaps in between everything that you put onto the wire. So you've still got this in your hand and this is free. So you're holding onto the wire with one hand and then going round with the other hand. And then we're going to put a bit of vibrant colour in. And if you can, try to attach from the wire bit. So where you had the wire, try to attach there, because then that just gives it a bit of movement. So go back up to the beginning and go right tight around the wire, like that. And then I'm going to go for a little bit of foliage again. And that foliage will help to secure the carnation a bit more, and then you can go round and round and round and round. And all you're doing is just laying flowers on top of the last one, using a bit of foliage in that one. I need a bit of olive now. Lay that on top and go around and around and around. And then we're going to go for a bit more colour. So we're going to lay that over the top and then take it around, around, around. So as you can see, it's starting to form like a line of flowers with lots of foliages in between. I would try, depending on what flowers and foliage you've got, I would try to sort of alternate the colours that you have and the flowers that you have. So you've got a bit of hydrangea, then a pop of colour, lots of foliage in between, some with berry, some just a different shade, and then you've got another type of flower in a different shade. You could actually go foliage all the way to here and then have big pops of flowers in the front and then go foliage for the rest of it. It just depends what you want your flower crown to look like. And if you find you can put a piece of foliage there and that just adds a bit more to here. It's just about creating what makes you happy, really. With the base wire, that can be as long or as short as you want it to be in terms of where you're attaching the flowers. And you could make these end bits here and then have ribbon to go for the rest of it. So it literally is a bit of a tiara with ribbon coming out the back. Or you can choose to attach them with Kirby grips. So you've just got a little bit and then it's gripped in. I think once you get the technique of knowing how to put it together, you will then start to say, well, I don't want it all the way around, or I want all the colour here, or I want colour on the side and then foliage, and just have fun with it. It's just such a pretty thing to be able to do, to find your creativity, find what makes you tick, find what is fun for you. You can thread things through like that, put it there. It doesn't have to be a set formula. Things can be poked through, things can be added, you can find a way of adding things. There's really no right or wrong once you come to assembling. And if you want to, put two bits together and then do it. If you want it to be quicker and you want to get to the end, just bunch them up and make it work that way. And actually, for me, with the flower crowns, the wilder they are, the better. The more flowers, the more foliage, the bigger they are. I mean, if you're going to do something, right, do it. Do it big and bold. Go large or go home. If you get to here and you think, oh, I can't be bothered to go back and wire everything. If you need to add a bit of foliage, just add a foliage. And as the stems are quite woody on a lot of foliages, you can just wire it directly on. The next question I know everybody's dying to know is, how do you finish it off? It's always the question that I'm always asked at every workshop. How do you finish it off on your wreath? How do you finish it off on your flower crown? And I will get there. On this side, you've got a bit of flower hanging over, and on this side, you want a bit of flower hanging over as well to match. So at some point, when you're going around here, you want to take something very similar to how you started and push it the other way whilst you're here. So you've got it going that way, and then you can wire that on. And then you know that whatever you do is going to end up with that. And I just want to put that there. And I just want to put another little flower there. And I want to take that. Oh. I want to take that around. Get to the end. And then I want to find something that's got slightly bushier. Put it there. And this is also sometimes where your glue gun comes in handy. So when you get to the end like that and you think, oh, I've got space and I don't want that space. If you can't manipulate the flowers to sit into that space, or if you can't find a nice piece of foliage to sit there, you can get your glue gun out and you can stick a flower on the little space. This is exactly how you would make a garland for the fireplace, or for down the center of the table. You just don't need to be quite so fine about everything. So when you've got this, you've got a final end piece there, and what I would do to finish it off is just take it through that bit at the end. So you're just winding that around the loop that you made originally, and you've just wound it around there a few times. And if there's any stray, just snip them off. And then once you've finished that, snip that off, wind it around so it doesn't stick in your head, and there you have a beautiful flower crown. We're not finished yet. I need to get that to sit up there. Right, so then, as we're doing something funky and colourful, I thought a nice bright pink would be lovely. Just trying to find where I've put my ribbon scissors now. So we're going to just put one end of the ribbon through the loops and through the loops, and then that pulls the flower garland together. I know, because I tested this earlier, I know that that will fit on my head. The ribbon for me always goes at the back. And pop it on your head. And there we have our flower crown. You tell me that that doesn't make you really happy.